Hi, I'm James Woodward from Purple Radio, and you're listening to the Student Music Network. I'm so excited to be joined today by Sam from American indie giants X Ambassadors. The band burst onto the scene in 2015 with a sensational album, VHS, and since then have gained a huge audience with almost 14 million listeners on Spotify alone and billions of streams across their discography. They're currently gearing up for the release of their latest album, Townie, which is landing on April 5th and marks a new chapter for the group as they return to their roots in upstate New York to create an intimately personal record. In the lead up to the album's release, they've dropped 3 singles and embarked on a European tour featuring several dates in the UK at the beginning of March. No Strings came in January, followed by Your Town in mid-February and Half-Life on the 15th of March. With Follow the Sound of My Voice dropping on Friday, 1 week before the album comes, and they begin a North American tour. It's an extremely busy and exciting period for the band. So Sam, thank you very much for joining me today. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing good. Wow, you just summed up so much stuff.
There's so much going on at the moment.
It's so funny to hear your career, I guess, through some lens. I gotta tell you, I'll be honest with you, this morning, I go through waves. I've been doing so much press with this record coming up, and I think yesterday I just hit such a wall and was woke up this morning just so sad and depressed, and I'm writing in my journal, just the most horrible, unfair things about myself. But listen, it's part of my process. I write it down, I see it, and I'm like, oh man, this is ridiculous. Be a little nicer to yourself. Why don't you?
Absolutely. I think the fact that you write it down is really important. I think that's a really good way of dealing with it as well. So,
but it's just funny to it's always funny to hear someone
yeah, obviously, yeah, because it's been obviously such a significant part of your life as well.
Oh my God, 17 years I've been with my band.
Just over a week until album release day. How are you feeling for that?
I'm oddly feeling pretty calm. I think usually I have felt so anxious and unprepared. I feel a little bit of that. But with this new album, as personal as it was, I set out to find this kind of catharsis and answer some questions that I had about myself, why I tick the way I tick. Look, I still have more questions than I have answers. I think we all will always feel like that. But I oddly, for something that was something that is such an emotional record, I had so much fun making it.
So before we come on to the album more broadly, I want to start with that most recent single release, Half-Life. As I said, was released on March 15th, which is almost 2 weeks ago now. So how have you found the response to that track in particular?
Great. I love that our fans really connected with that one. It's always so surprising to me which ones people connect with the most. When we put No Strings out, it got playlisted on a lot of different playlists. So the playlisters really liked that one, I guess, probably because it's one of those songs that might they may have deemed streamable. For something like Half-Life, our fans really connected with it on socials, and when we were teasing it initially, that was the one that kind of raised its head. And it's a love song, it's a very simple love song, and I love I'm in awe of the power of a good love song, and I wanted to write something like that. I didn't know that it was going to fit on this record, but it ended up being perfect for it, and a little bit of an outlier thematically. My wife, I've been with Tess for 13 years, and we met when we were kids, so I've literally known her for half of my life, and that was not I didn't realize that until after the song was written. I wasn't like, oh, I've known my wife for half my life, I'm gonna write a song called Half-Life. It was an odd coincidence. It wasn't even my concept. I came into the room and was writing with this writer named Joy Williams, another writer named Ben Stennis, and Joy had this title. She was like, what about this? What if we write a song called Half-Life? And I loved that phrase and that title.
So sorry to move on so quickly from Half-Life, but there's so much to get through, as I was saying.
I know, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm a talker.
Looking back to, you mentioned No Strings, but I want to talk about Your Town. because I think for me, of the ones released so far, that's the one that resonated with me the most, and probably my favorite of the ones already released. There's
Thank you.
one element specifically that I want to ask you about, which was the spoken voice part at the end of that track,
Yeah.
and what the story behind that was, because so I listened to it for the first time and it hit that part, and then I think I always kind of like that in songs, like when it has that at the end, like a little bit of just spoken word. So what was that? What was the story behind that?
That's a voicemail that my teacher Todd Peterson left me, and that was the last time I heard from him. He passed away a couple months later,
I'd hear that.
and that's the voicemail that I'm sort of addressing in the song. You said, "I'm sorry you don't call me more. I guess you're just too busy for me." But they were playing your song at the CVS downtown. CVS is just drugstore.
Yeah.
And I just called to say I'm so proud. Todd was my teacher and early mentor for me. He taught me a lot about performing and stagecraft, and he was the first person to ever get me to sing on stage in front of people when I was in 5th grade. He forced that microphone into my hands and was like, "You can do this." And he meant so much to me and to my community. And I felt when he passed, I felt so much shame and guilt because I towards the end, I kind of started ghosting him a little bit. He would always call me and nag me about not coming home enough and not responding to his messages more and
Mhm.
saying, "Don't forget about the little people," and it was all with love, but I think I just got annoyed with it and didn't realize that there was something going on. I did, but his health was rapidly declining, and by the time he passed away, it was too late for me to tell him how much I loved him and appreciated him, and how much confidence he gave me to do the things that I'm doing to this day. And so writing that song was me kind of grappling with my own guilt a little bit, and then also honoring his memory and celebrating the place where I'm from. I think that Todd and the people that influenced me as a young person and helped raise me and mold me and took care of me and loved me. I owe them so much, and any chance that I get to thank them, I should take. And this song is prime example of that.
So you're talking about this kind of like emotional side of the record. And your previous album back in 2021 now is A Beautiful Liar, which in itself is, I really, really love that album.
Thanks.
It's much more of a concept album. I feel like this
Yeah.
it feels in a way like more personal and more intimate. I don't know if that's something you agree with, like not just
Oh,
lyrics,
for
but
sure.
also in terms of like the musicality of the songs and the more acoustically driven like nature of them. So was that something that you really wanted to achieve on this record? Because it sounds like
Yeah. The Beautiful Liar, I loved working within this kind of world and making this high concept thing. I was honestly less focused on the personal nature of stuff because I think I wanted to create a character that was not me.
Yeah.
I wanted to get outside of myself so desperately. It was, that's a COVID record, I guess, if
Yeah.
you want to categorize it like that, at that time, I was looking for escapism. I that's what that record was for me, and you can only run so far. And that's kind of what brought me back to Townie. And I took the complete opposite approach. Um, I don't know if you're into astrology at all, but I'm a Libra, and I think as a Libra, I'm all about balance.
Amazing.
I don't buy into astrology so much, but I do think that rings very true. My
Mm.
star sign rings very true to my nature. I swing from one end to the other often.
Well, I think that the fact that your music can kind of hit both ends as well is testament to your musical ability, not to shower you with too many compliments.
No, thank you.
Um,
I really appreciate that.
so moving on a little bit away from the album to your European tour. which you got to play in so many amazing cities and so many cool cities as well, like Riga in Latvia, Vilnius in Lithuania as well, Helsinki, Warsaw. But as I'm UK based, I'm going to ask you to focus on the UK part of that tour. So
Happy.
how is it for you guys every time you perform in the UK?
It's great. You know, we've been we played our show in Camden on this last tour, and I remember in like 2008 we went when we were kids, you know, in our early 20s, we somehow managed to get a couple gigs in the UK, and we like scraped the money together and flew out and crashed on my cousin's floor. I've got family in
Right.
London and the surrounding area. And we just begged, borrowed, and stole our way, you know, through these couple shows in and around London. And I remember walking down like over that bridge in Camden, you know, carrying a bunch of gear to somebody's like house to either sleep or play a show. I can't remember. But we've been coming to the UK specifically for such a long time, and gone from, you know, those ragtag days of my cousin as our tour manager driving us around and like getting into accidents on the on the street somewhere in Glasgow. I remember we like ran into the back of a bus.
Obviously, you're playing songs off the album on the tour. So how did you find the audience reaction to those songs, which probably hadn't really been released yet? And was there one which you seemed to like really get a good reaction for that people will never have heard before?
I can't tell yet.
Okay.
If I'm being honest with you, it's hard. Because I have in-ear monitors, and so I don't really like to have a lot of crowd mic in my ears because it just kind of it
Great job.
muddies it a little bit for me. But I take one ear out to talk to the crowd so that I
Yeah.
feel like I'm actually there and not just in my own little world. And then when we're playing some of these new songs, I'm still focused on how good it feels, to play
Yeah.
something new,
Right.
and also focused on like don't fuck it up, you know.
Of course.
And so I'm not sure yet,
Okay.
but I will have an answer for, unfortunately
Amazing.
I have an answer for you probably a year from now.
You're starting your North American tour, and I was looking through the tour dates, and there was one date I was looking for, and that was the Ithaca date, and that's on the first of June,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
State Theatre in Ithaca. So you've got to be especially excited for that one because that is
Oh,
taking the album home, and it's all about kind of that place. So you must be really excited for that gig.
I'm so excited, and I'm so curious what I'm gonna do on stage, because I'll have built my stage banter up already, talking to a bunch of people who don't know where I'm from, and talk about my hometown, and then I'll be in my hometown and everybody is there knows
Yeah.
about it. So yeah, I'm curious to see what it's going to be like. I'm of course very excited to bring
Yeah,
it
no, I
home.
think your achievements are amazing, and you've done it with your brother as well, Casey, obviously.
Yeah.
Does that to you make it even more special, especially given like the
Yeah.
nostalgic elements of this new album?
Yes, and you know, I think that to be able to do this with family is so, it's such a gift, and I feel extraordinarily lucky to have had Casey by my side this whole time. And you know, there have definitely been rough moments between us, and between other members of the band. You know, it's not always easy, but I think there is something about working with family that is it just goes a little deeper, that sense of commitment, at least for me.
Mm.
It's not for everybody, but I feel a deeper sense of commitment to not only this project that we have, but also to the people involved, and not just my brother. That relationship has bled into my relationships with, you know, everybody who's involved. I'm a very loyal person, and I think I want everybody to succeed and everybody to win, and my little gang.
Amazing. Well, I've got one more question for you.
Yeah.
And first of all, good luck with everything. The album's going to be incredible. I'm really excited to listen to the whole thing. Everyone listening, go and listen to the full album. I think it's going to be out by the time this is released. But my final question for you, Sam, if you had one song for the rest of the time, you can only listen to that, no others, what would you listen to?
Atlantic City. Bruce Springsteen off of Nebraska. It's my favorite song of all time. I could listen to it forever and ever and ever and ever and ever.
Amazing.
And also, I know you had asked me about this earlier, but
Mm.
about artists that I was listening to right now,
Yeah.
and kind of under the radar artists. Medium Build. I love Medium
Yes.
Build, and I had a song that came out last year. Please listen to his record. Is coming out the same day our record comes out, so I'm going to do promo for him. His
Amazing.
record Country comes
Yeah.
out April 5th. Listen to it. It's amazing.
Perfect. Well, Sam, thank you so much. Best of luck. Townie is released on April the 5th. Go and stream it on everything. Medium Build as well. Go stream their album as well.
Yes.